One, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Hi, Bullhorn Betty. Thank you for my shirt. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Kids Club.
I have some breaking news in the Savannah Soto case. Savannah Soto was a pregnant 18-year-old mom-to-be, and she was reported missing on December 23rd. We also learned that her boyfriend, Matthew Guerrera, was also missing at the time of her disappearance. Due to an altercation, many people thought he was responsible for her disappearance. He soon found out that to be different. Christopher and Ramon Preciado were arrested in connection with the death of baby Fabian, Matthew Guerrera, and Savannah Soto. Rumors had it that during the investigation, Matthew Guerrera's phone was not found. That is not true. Take a listen. So we learned this morning that Matthew Guerrera's phone appears to be with law enforcement. I don't know quite how we missed this, but I want you to check this out.
Detectives learned that both victims were involved in the sale of narcotics and used their cell phones to conduct much of their business. Detectives collected the victims' phones. Detectives collected the victims' phones. Detectives collected the victims' phones.
Did you clearly hear that police chief said both their phones are in their possession, custody, and control? Not verbatim, but check this out one more time.
Detectives collected the victims' phones.
So now that we know law enforcement not only has Savannah Soto's phone, they also have Matthew's phone. Is this something that should be concerning? Here's why. They kept it under wraps, and many people have been letting us know that Matthew Guerrera's phone had not been found by law enforcement. Clearly it has. We know he was dealing in substances, an array of substances, from marijuana to pills to more excessive drugs. So I just want to know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. God bless you.
The legacy of the Murdaughs stretch very far in South Carolina. Behind these gates lie deadly secrets. Secrets only Alec Murdaugh himself know. On June 7th, 2021, Alec Murdaugh hatched a deadly secret, plotting against his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. But what brought us to this point starts with Mallory Beach. Mallory Beach was killed in a boating accident by Paul Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh's son, and it was going to trial, and Alec was about to pony up financial records. Those financial records were going to uncover a financial scheme hatched by none other than Alec Murdaugh himself. Right before going to court over the boating accident, Alec Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, and son, Paul, were brutally executed at the dog kennels at their home in Low Country, South Carolina, the property known as Moselle. Shortly after the murder of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, he had a foiled suicide plot at a local church nearby. Alec had a friend try to shoot him in the head region, which again failed, and he went to the hospital where it was a superficial wound, leaving everybody to believe this was a foiled suicide attempt to garner sympathy from the community. This foiled attempt was captured on camera at the local church. Alec Murdaugh received 2 life sentences for the death and murder of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. After Alec's double homicide conviction of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, he has since set his eyes on the clerk of Colton County, Becky Hill. Becky Hill is now come under fire for putting her hands on the scales of justice in an effort to get Alec Murdaugh convicted. Alec Murdaugh's defense team state that Becky Hill put her hands on the scales of justice in an effort to get money for a book deal. Alec Murdaugh has a hearing for a motion for new trial coming up on January 29th. This hearing details how Alec Murdaugh believes Becky Hill, the clerk of Colton County, put her hands on the scales of justice in an effort to get a guilty verdict from the jury.
Hello, my beautiful coffee beans. I'm Bullhorn Betty. This is Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories, and we're going to be discussing the newest update in the Bryan Kohberger case. Bryan Kohberger was arrested on December 30th, 2022. Bryan Kohberger was brought back to Moscow, Idaho on January 4th, 2023. The Moscow University of Idaho victims were killed in their off-campus housing on the outskirts of the University of Idaho on November 13th, 2022, around 4 to 4:25. It's actually alleged that in less than 9 minutes, all 4 of these students were murdered. Now that we fast forward to after the revelations of the affidavit of probable cause, which was a jaw-dropper. It indicated that Dylan Mortensen was an actual witness and victim of this crime. She actually saw a man about 5'10", 185 pounds, not muscular but athletically built, and he was covered in a mask and dark clothing, and he was exiting the kitchen sliding glass door. It concerned her, but that was the first time the community knew that there was a witness, and that witness was Dylan Mortensen. Then came this horrible crusade against Dylan Mortensen because people couldn't understand why it took 8 hours for her to call 911. However, we're not going to be discussing that in today's segment. Today's segment is related to the court proceedings going on with Bryan Kohberger. Ann C. Taylor, Bryan's attorney, and Bill Thompson, the prosecutor for the state of Idaho, have been working tirelessly to make sure that the public is out of this case until trial. There's been a litany of documents under seal in this matter. So, with them pushing the public out and pushing everybody out, including the family, today's segment is on Ann C. Taylor's newest request. It is a jaw-dropper, I gotta tell ya.
You're going to want to stick around for this. I am Bullhorn Betty, and this is Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. I hope you enjoy this segment and thought-provoking conversation related to Bryan C. Kohberger and Ann C. Taylor, his attorney, and their newest request. God bless.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
I promised we would be back in the office today. We're not in the office. We're in office 2. We're in office 2. It's just too convenient. I've been working here for like the last 48 hours and like just hustling it back here, right? Hustling it. That's why I went live so late last night. It was like I worked all day. My eyes were crossing. And I just couldn't, there was no way I would have been able to go to sleep. I had to come live. You know, it was my wind down. It was my wind down, especially as hot as I was after watching that interview on, not Dolly Vision, Justice for All. I wasn't hot. I just had a lot more questions. I was a little disappointed, I think is really what it is. But either way, we're here for a chill and chat, great time. This morning, nothing really direct or specific to any particular case. Obviously, you see what 3 cases we're most likely going to be covering this morning. It's going to be an update on Savannah Soto, reminding everybody we are going to the Alec Murdaugh motion for new trial hearing, and that is in Richland County, I believe, something like that, at the courthouse. Believe it or not, I got a hold of my footage. You know what? As a matter of fact, I wonder if I can show it. I got a hold of my footage. I forgot about that. I forgot I had taken still shots while I was there on the camera, on the Canon camera. One thing about the Canon camera, it just doesn't. The video portion of it kind of sucks. You can't zoom in. You can't zoom out. It's an older camera. It's a T5. I think they've made like 18 versions since the T5 came out. Either way, that's what I had. But you know what? Some of the photos were pretty stinking good. I can't believe I forgot all of it. I got Creighton on there. I've got Eric Bland. I've got James, Dick. I got the whole group. I got the beautiful photos of the courthouse. It's just really, really, really pretty. I mean, horrible reason for being there, but that courthouse was gorgeous. I got to be honest with you. And they had a little pond out front with a bunch of duckies. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make that time. Lots of fun. Going back to childhood, right? Oh, there's my laugh. I still have buttons. The dandy old, thank you. It's me, Jen. You know, he's still going on. She loaned me this phone. It was a long story, not going into it. Anyways, it's now become property of Bullhorn Betty. And I got buttons to push. And it's always Jennifer's buttons. I'm pushing Jennifer button. Karen, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Bullhorn Betty is present. Courtney Dawn, it's nice to see you. Jules is up in the house. Big hugs and kisses over there in Cali. Patricia, it's nice to see you. Our beautiful Sonia is up in the house. Tracy, good morning. Jamie, it's nice to see you. November Rain up in the house. Nice to see you, love. We've got Cool Gamer. Good morning. Second Thesis. Good morning to you, love. Our button lady herself. Dun, 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 dun. I think I got that one. Hold on. Button pusher. She's the one that
They got the BS button too. We should give her a round of cheer, huh? That's what I'm saying. Not as good sound effects coming through the mic. But that's okay. We got this. It's nice to see you. Good morning, Skittles, Crafty Chris, Sassy Southern Mama. It's nice to see you. Good morning, Nani. It's nice to see you. Did I say hi to you, Skittles? If I didn't, good morning. Lady 7 Up. Good morning. Julia is in the house. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you. Nanya Business up in the house. Nice to see you as well. Box of Shameless. Good morning. Paralegal Liz up in the house. Nice to see you. Good morning, everyone. Darcy, good morning. Who else do we have? I think I got through. OTL's in the house. Good morning, Christina. It's nice to see you. So good morning, everybody. It's Manic Monday. Boo, boo. I know. We don't like this day. And I got to tell you, I don't like the today. Usually Mondays, it's just another day for me. I'm up. Even this morning, I was up before 3 a.m. Alarm doesn't go off until 4:30. Right? And so I'm like, it's crazy. And in some days when I work really, really late, like I did last night, and my body's naturally gets up, I'm exhausted. That's why we went early today. It's because as soon as we're live, I've got to get back to work. And I want to get my work for the day just kind of out of the way, because I have a funny feeling Bullhorn Betty's taking a nap this afternoon, okay? Whether you like it or not, Bullhorn Betty is burning her candle at both ends, and she's about to sizzle out. I'm just joking. Good morning. We've got a lot to go over. First and foremost, I know a lot of people are here. Savannah Soto, the Matthew Guerra case really has kind of stolen our heart. We got really emotional over that case because of Savannah Soto being heavily pregnant. Did I say good morning to you, Lisa? I saw you. I see you. Good morning, love. Good morning. And it was because she was, just about to have her first baby, and she was literally going. The reason she was reported missing is she didn't make it to her induction appointment, and that is really what I think we all knew. This was really, really bad, because a woman doesn't miss that type of appointment. So literally immediately we had no information. We don't even know who this chick is. We don't know anything about her. We just know she's a pregnant mom to be, and she missed her induction appointment. We all jumped into overdrive because that's just an appointment. I don't care if you're a man, a female, how you identify, or anything else like that. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows a woman will not miss that appointment. So literally everybody had already just knew right off the bat that this case needed immediate attention. She was heavily pregnant and missed her appointment to have her baby, a baby that she was excited to have. So it just, everything spiraled from there. We've all been watching this case unfold. Christopher Preciado obviously knew both Savannah and Matthew. It sounds like this is somebody that they have most likely worked with in the past. And he's responsible for this gruesome crime, and his parents. And there's been a lot of speculation whether Mirta's his biological mother or his stepmother. To be honest with you, when discussing this case, it's a stupid issue to worry about. It doesn't really matter. To me, in the grand scheme of this case, whether she's a stepmother or a biological mother, to me, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is she's a parental figure, and she helped him clean up a crime scene and cover up a major crime. And that major crime included a female that was heavily pregnant. And it's just like, it's unacceptable. We understand that parents obviously want to help their children when they are in a Blue Victorian. It's nice to see you. Good morning. Yeah, that's the problem here is, to be honest with you, the baby got the worst of it. I can guarantee, most likely, I probably should move the guarantee for the exact place, but I could almost guarantee that Matthew and Savannah's wounds were probably more instantaneous type of deaths, in my opinion, just due to where they were. When we hear of head wounds and the type of wounds that that we believe that they have, especially contact wound or whatnot. I grabbed the wrong video this morning. I didn't mean to go over the second phone. I need to remove that because that's old news. But I was trying to go through the one with where he talks about the contact wound. I just grabbed the wrong clip. And I feel like both of them would have had a very quick death. But the baby is still there. The baby's still alive. And this baby is a full grown baby. This is a child that could have survived outside of the womb. As a matter of fact, so much so, she was being induced to have the baby outside of the womb, because the baby was able to breathe and function on his own. Full-term baby. And in my opinion, it was the baby that got the worst part of this attack, because that baby was helpless, defenseless, and didn't get a quick out like his parents did. It was probably long, I don't even want to know. The thought of it just makes me want to just start crying. It really does. But the baby, that's why I was adamant that they should have charges for that baby, because that's just cruel and unusual punishment, in my opinion. Just cruel and unusual punishment. We would be demanding more if it was I digress, but you know what I'm saying. This baby deserves to have charges against the people that are responsible for taking his life. Period. I don't care how it looks. But there has been some movement, but not movement with the case that's going to be anything to do with the case. So we had the funeral for Matthew. That was first. And I heard the discussion group is turned off or paused right now in honoring and in a silence for the victims, Savannah Soto and baby Fabian. I think they were going to try to have a public viewing, but from what I'm hearing with some of the comments that were posted before they paused the group, it sounded like the family had changed that to a private viewing and private showing. I understand, and I'm a nosy person and like to be there if family is willing to have it and things of that nature. But this is a young girl. I can't imagine the grief. The family is reeling. It's sad because 3 people lost their life that all these people were very close to and loved very much. In addition to that, having a baby on the way and going from expecting a Christmas baby. Just the excitement of all, just the conversations. Can you imagine the conversations that they were having before this horrific event about, wrapping the baby in a bow, just some funny stuff. I'm sure there was a lot of cute little joking things that were going to go on, as you prepare for motherhood and getting ready to welcome your child into this world. I'm sure there are just some funny things that you and your friends or you and your family, talk about or, joke about or something like that. Like, you're getting a present on Christmas, just really heartfelt, sentimental times for the families and for the friends of Savannah Soto and Matthew Guerra. But it's sad all the way around. But either way, it sounds like they were going to have it. It sounds like they did have it. The last flyer I received said it was going to be today, later today. But I do have some. I don't know if this is the funeral or what it is. But it sounds like it was, and it had taken place. But I'll let you guys be the decider of that. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick on the screen, on the big screen. This is not the one we're going to be talking about. It's going to be this one. Some comments from the family.
It's so hard. We'll never be the same again.
Nearly a month after she was killed, 18-year-old Savannah Soto is finally being laid to rest. Police say Soto, her boyfriend Matthew Guerra, and their unborn son.
I have to say, though, the one thing that I did notice about her family is her mom, her grandmother, and her look a lot alike. Their faces, their noses. And then we heard from Matthew's family that beautiful baby Fabian looked a lot like his mother. And that, again, it just breaks your heart. This entire story just breaks your heart. And you know what? I don't recall, I mean, even though we discussed their past, I don't recall anybody judging. Well, there might have been some people on YouTube, but people like us that conversate about these and really want to help and really want to advocate and bring their story to the forefront. I don't know if any of us that really have criticized their lifestyle, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It really didn't. And I just want everybody to understand that, we, the public, care. We care about everybody, no matter what your path is, what your walk is. I'm not a perfect person. There's a lot of things that I could have done differently in my life. I will never judge anybody, but you know what? Everything I've done does not require or does not justify anybody taking me out, period. I've never done anything that bad. And if I have, that's what the court systems are for. So I think I just like people to understand that, this is a sad story. And when sad stories come before us, we bring them to you. When things matter, we bring them to you. We got this out there along with a lot of other content creators about this young lady very, very quickly because we care.
Were murdered just days before Christmas. Tonight, family and friends held a rosary in Savannah's honor. As her grandmother tells the night team's Daniela Ibarra, they are all praying for justice.
Instead of celebrating a new life, Savannah Soto's family is honoring the two they lost.
There is no moving forward.
Savannah's grandmother, Rachel, says waiting is painful.
She needs to be laid down already. She suffered too much, and she doesn't need to suffer anymore.
Savannah's family reported her missing.
That breaks my heart. I'm sorry. It just does. Seeing a grandmother cry and just be in grief, and you can see it in her. The family is devastated.
Right before she was expected to be induced to give birth. On December 26th, San Antonio police say they found Savannah and her boyfriend, Matthew Guerra, on Danny K Drive, both dead in a car.
It's so hard right now to know that I won't see her beautiful face anymore, to hear her crazy laugh, just the way she was. All I want to know is why.
And that's another thing that I hear all the time is, some of the things that, used to maybe frustrate us about our loved one, that little, that pet peeve, we all have it, right? Like we are raised with our family members or our siblings. And, we have that pet peeve, that one thing that they do that just drives us, bonkers. Like for her, it sounded like it was the crazy laugh, and those are the things that they're the double-edged sword that slices you deeper than anything, because those pet peeves almost become a longing. Like you long for them to frustrate you again. You just want something, and it's the most devastating feeling ever. Good morning, Steffers. It's nice to see you, love bug. Sweet Misery, I don't know if I said good morning to you. Were you in here earlier? If I didn't, good morning. Good morning. It's almost deafening that you can't hear it. Something that used to drive you up a wall, you literally long to hear. It's sad.
Why'd they do that to her? She didn't deserve that.
An investigation revealed the couple was killed in a botched drug deal. This is the surveillance video from the night of the shooting that ultimately helped police track down the suspects.
And I pray to God that they do pay.
Are you sorry for what happened? Authorities believe 19-year-old Christopher Preciado is the sole killer. His parents, Ramon Preciado and Mirta Romanos, accused of helping clean up the crime scene. Mirta, did you give Christopher your gun? And Romano, facing charges for allegedly giving her son the gun he used to kill the three victims.
I hope they give him what they deserve, maybe life in prison for all what they did to her.
While all three will be laid to rest, their families will have to relive the tragedy in the justice system. Records show the Preciados have pre-hearings the first week of February.
First week of February. I heard, what's her face? is coming up.
Honest will follow a few weeks later.
We all just want justice for all of them. And I pray to God that we get it soon.
Soto's funeral mass will be held tomorrow morning, and she'll be buried right after. We have those full details.
Yeah, it is today. It is today. That's what I thought.
And a full breakdown of this entire case right now on KSAT.com.
So there you guys have it. It sounds like she is having her funeral services today. I don't know what, if it's open to the public, if it's not, why that question was never asked, because there's no reason why. The murderers are selfish, heartless humans. They don't care about anyone but themselves. I agree with that. And I remember saying it when we found out, I remember because it was the induction appointment. I knew that something bad happened to her, not just that she was kidnapped. I knew something bad happened to her because I felt like if she had been kidnapped or something, the stress would have had her, probably give birth right there. I would presume, but even if not, it was the fact that she would not have missed that appointment. And it would have, I even referred to, a woman would have to be dead to miss that appointment. And I didn't mean it like that, but I said something or a variation of that statement. I can't remember exactly what I said. And it was sad that I had to say it, but it was so true. And I was so hopeful that, her boyfriend and her were just fighting and they were just driving and he was freaking out or something like that. You always hope for the best. But that was just not the case here in the Soto and Guerra case. But either way, she's going to be laid to rest. I don't know if it's open to the public, but I'm glad her and baby Fabian are finally going to be put to rest today. So just, maybe just a few moments of silence in their honor would be really great. And I just really want to give props to the very large online Facebook group. A lot of people want to communicate. They have a huge, huge, huge platform. And for them to honor and respect Savannah Soto and baby Fabian by shutting the discussion group down until after their funeral, I really do respect that and just want to, tell them personally, thank you. That is very kind, generous, and sweet. Again, 160,000 people want to be in there chatting. And so I can understand, and I absolutely highly respect the administrators that made that decision. So getting on to a little bit about Bryan Kohberger. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody, we are going to be live coming from Alec Murdaugh's motion for new trial hearing. We will be out there. We are going to be in the lawn in front of the courthouse. We will be live, right? We will be live. So if you want to know all the up-to-date information immediately related to Alec Murdaugh going on inside the courtroom, which is what you guys can stream, but you're also going to get a front row view to what's going on in and around that courthouse, who's showing up, what their statements are, and we are going to be there until the end. So we have an opportunity to ask some really good questions to some of the attorneys on how they thought the hearing went. So please, we are going out there. Woo, 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 woo. I hope he doesn't get a new trial. I keep looking at this. I keep analyzing this from a legal standard, and I keep looking at it and seeing, what could they look at? And the Judge Toll has tailored it perfectly. You're only looking at the decision makers of that trial. One person, the clerk of Colton County, has been accused of swaying the jury. So the two parties that need to be there to discuss whether that happened, that is their specific allegations, is that Becky Hill went to the jury, instructed them inappropriately to hand down a guilty verdict. If those things did not happen, if the judge asks the jury and they said, we don't have any knowledge of this, and they ask the clerk, hey, did you do this? And she says, no, I did not. How dare you? How are you going to go against 13 people? 13 people to give somebody that has been known to lie under oath, has admitted to lying under oath, while under oath, and somebody that has been convicted of defrauding hundreds out of millions and accused of executing his own wife and his own son in cold blood. So again, when I first started out, I took up for Becky Hill. Even when the affidavits came out, I reeled us back in, and because my heart, my anxiety with Becky Hill, when I heard those affidavits, went through the roof, and I'm like, please tell me this didn't happen. And I kept analyzing. Remember that? I mean, you guys saw, we were live when this was going on, and I'm like, please don't tell me this is no. This is, we got to remember they're playing dirty tricks. You know, I'm throwing the whole kitchen sink at you know, this situation, and I'm like, this can't be. She didn't seem like that type of person. You know, she's been in this community a really long time. She's highly respected. She seemed to take her job very seriously. I just can't believe it. No, you know. And then I started looking at those affidavits that were really, really painting a horrible picture. And then the first thing I noticed with them is that it appeared to come from people that appeared to have been humiliated or embarrassed somehow through the process. Like they had a bone to pick, like they had a chip on their shoulder. In all fairness, just my analysis, whether it's true or not, you know, Egg Lady may not feel insulted or injured or felt like she was thrown inappropriately. Maybe she doesn't feel those things. I don't know. I have not spoken with her at all. I don't know who she is. All I can say is that she was, and you could tell when she left, she seemed a little irate and upset. So you could tell that's where I'm getting that she was highly upset and offended that she was kicked off, because we saw it publicly. Well, not saw it. We heard it publicly because we didn't get a chance to see the jury for privacy reasons. So the jury, but we heard the whole interaction because we all got a chuckle when he said, "Do you need to grab anything from the jury room?" And she's like, "Just my eggs." And we're like, "Or just the eggs?" And she said, "The eggs, not my eggs." She said, "The eggs." I remember, I'm like, just the eggs? What is she going to do? Go out there and start egging people? Like nobody had context behind the whole eggs. And it was just a very comical moment for us, but we knew she was a little upset. So she's one of the affiants. I just had a problem because I knew that occurrence had happened. And then the other person, I'm like, well, you know, this seems like a little one-sided as well. This seems like somebody got their feelings a little hurt as well, you know? And so I was unclear with that. But then, you know, fast forwarding several months, and we have this wiretapping charge for her son. And that's the first time that I thought, she can get dirty with the politicians. It's just a different breed of an individual. Not that the people aren't normal or like me and you outside of their job. They absolutely are the nicest people. But in order to be a politician, in order to go through an election cycle, you have to get some pretty darn thick skin. Literally, they tear you apart. They just tear you apart, and you are putting yourself in a public spotlight. So you're basically bringing that on because you are now putting yourself as a public person. Politicians running public office are public officials, public people. They undergo a different level of scrutiny than a private citizen would, and lawfully, you know. So there's an extra layer that, you know, you can literally dig into a public figure. So you have to be just a different person, but you don't, when you're there, you can, I've known good politicians and I've known bad politicians, and I've known people kind of in the middle. They're not like an amazing politician, but they're not a horrible, corrupt, you know, money grabbing piece of, you know what, right? There's really great ones, and there's some just right in the middle, right? And so she reminds me of a right in the middle type of person. She doesn't mind getting a little dirty to get the job done, but nothing that's going to be unlawful, you know? And so this is the first time that there's what she and her son did she had to have known was unlawful and chose to do it anyways. And that's where my problem came in. And of course, you have a normal person would say, if she could do this, because we like to justify and we like to figure things out. So naturally, our mind says, well, if she can do this, she can do this. You know, that's the way my mind works. Before this whole wiretapping thing, I was on team Becky Hill. She's a politician. I get it. We don't like politicians, whatever, but she handles herself appropriate, professionally, blah, 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 blah. And I was on that diatribe up until her son was arrested. And then it's like, wait, you know what? I deal with politicians and a lot, and I know what they are willing to do and what they're unwilling to do. And most of the politicians that I know are unwilling to commit acts of crime, civilly or criminally. Well, they're criminal acts of crime, but you know what I mean, acts of crime. But some that are lower in nature, not violent offenders and stuff like that, just, you know, crimes. And wiretapping is a crime. And you're wiretapping a county employee. I mean, you're getting into the weeds here. You're getting into the weeds here. It's just, it went bonkers. So that bias is now formulated in most people's brain. And they did that strategically and with precision as their strategy, their trial strategy, as their hearing strategy. Don't think that all this stuff was not orchestrated by Alec's team. It absolutely was. They found somebody in the clerk's office that might be able to file a complaint here. This is how it works. I know it. I've seen it. And they can sit there and say, oh, this doesn't exist. Yeah, if you're not up in the political realm or arm of our society, you wouldn't believe half the crap that I've seen. You wouldn't believe it. I could not tell you, and you would say there is no way that is possible. Okay. Well, 2 short years ago, I didn't think it was possible that a government had, our government had the right, because again, they're not the bosses of us, we're the bosses of them, could ever shut our country down. There is no way that is constitutionally allowed, but they were able to do it. Okay. So just because they can't doesn't mean they won't, right? So I know that there are political things that can be done, okay? And I know how it kind of works behind the scenes just a little bit. I don't know much, but I know a little bit, right? I know a little bit. And I know how this works. So I believe that the Murdaugh team, defense team, is behind even the clerk's past employment, whatever, because they're digging in, they're talking to all of the stuff, people in and around her life. Trust me, they have something to do with even the deployment thing, and they're trying to say, oh, this stuff doesn't happen. Yeah, okay. You can blow that up somebody else's butt, but I'm telling you, I've been in politics from the state of Florida and around this country, and I can tell you, they all function around about the same. That's why I can be confident when I say, no matter where you go, there's corruption somewhere. That's how I can say that. Because so far, there hasn't been a place I went that there wasn't some type of cronyism or corruption in their local government. Okay, it is what it is. You know, we hope the corruption is so small that it doesn't affect the community. But it's always about scratching each other's backs. I know they try to say that they don't do that. I'm sorry. I don't know of any politician that doesn't. I'm sorry. I just don't know. Find me one. Find me one. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. Find me one. It's done. It's what keeps the country moving, whether people like to admit it or not. I digress. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But either way, I believe they were behind this whole ethics thing. It's a smear campaign. I can see it clearly. I believe it. Does it mean she didn't do anything wrong? No, it means that she probably, if she was going to be coming under scrutiny, she should have dotted her I's and crossed her T's and not got scared. What she did is she got scared and wanted to know who was dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and that was her fatal flaw. Now, that was because of the pressure she was receiving. Does that mean she put her hands on the scales of justice for the verdict to come out as not guilty? Guilty. One, I do not believe it. I truly, and I've said this from the beginning, I truly believe had he gotten a not guilty plea, that book would have been a immediate seller. Everybody would want to know what went wrong in that court hearing. So no matter, in my opinion, no matter what the verdict was in Becky Hill's book, it didn't matter. That wasn't the crux of her book. The book didn't say Alec Murdaugh's guilty verdict trial that resulted in, no, it was behind the walls of justice. It was about the processes, about what happened behind the scenes. The conclusion wasn't what the book was about. The book was about the process, everything going on, the thoughts, that stuff. The verdict was just a small sliver of the entire book. So, I mean, we have to look at all these things when it comes to Alec Murdaugh. I love Judge Toll already. I like the fact she's a no nonsense. She's got it going on. She does have it going on, and she's very knowledgeable in the law in South Carolina and definitely criminal code. So I'm excited to hear about the process of this. But now that I know that this judge is going to specifically, hone in on just the jury and just the clerk, because let's face it, they're saying that the clerk affected the jury. So the judge is saying, okay, if you're saying the clerk affected the jury, let's bring in the clerk and let's bring in the jury. Let's find out what happened. But she will not allow the fishing expedition or the smear campaign to go on inside her court. Like the resident Bullhorn Betty defense attorney is already in here breaking down the judge. The judge is biased. The judge is biased. Yeah, the judge is biased to the rule of law. I think the judge is spot on. When you look at the way the law is written, you can't bring in ancillary people that did not deliberate on his case. If they're talking about deliberating people, and then those are the people that made the decision. Those are the decision makers of whether he was guilty or not guilty and why they made that decision. If that's the case, he's done, son. He's done, son. If that didn't happen, he's done. He has to take the paper. He's life in prison. But I don't believe the defense team is going. I believe it's a louder bite or louder bark than a bite. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weak. It appears like it's this bombshell explosive document that outlines this tortious conduct of the clerk of Colleton County, and it sounds really good for a saucy novel, fictional, because it just doesn't seem like it holds a lot of truth in it outside of being salacious and something that garners our attention and makes us go, could she have? And that's what they're wanting to provoke in a lot of people. And they're wanting to try to taint the jury pool as much as possible by bringing all this and making it a public spectacle. So I think now I'm a little more confident now that I saw how this judge is ruling on how she's going to govern her proceedings. I personally feel much better. I feel much better. HB still needs 650 to be able to get her. HB, BH. She missed her B in front of HB. So we just got a Horn Betty. People might go a little crazy with that. Instead of Bullhorn Betty, it's just Horn Betty. I don't like that. But we are trying to get a camera. We've been collecting on this camera from last year. We've got at least half of the camera already paid for. We're in need of $675. And we do this thing, $1 Will Do campaign. If you have an extra buck or two, just please throw it at the camera. We're hoping to have this new camera up and running by the time we go out to the Idaho for trial. I want to get that one. We need to get that up and running, and for our because that's going to be one that I want to make sure we have beautiful images on. It's a very expensive case. We spent a lot of money covering that case. and it's going to cost us a lot more money before the trial is all said and done. So the camera is one of the things that we really need. Like I said, my camera does not do what it needs to do. These new cameras, I bought my camera, I want to say like 15 years ago or more. And these new cameras are just so much more up to date, has so much better resolution capabilities. It's a much easier process in dealing with some of the newer cameras than the cameras that the camera I have. So even though I got some really great lenses for the camera I have, I'm hoping this new camera, I can use the lenses from my old camera on, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath. Anyways, so that's where it is. So if you would like to contribute to that, $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, please consider contributing to the camera fund. We are going to be out there in Idaho. I believe they're doing his trial, they're gauging it. We don't have anything set in stone, but I think they were eyeballing the summer of 2024. So that's our target time frame for this camera. So hopefully, cross our fingers, we get the camera in time for this event. All right, where are we? All right, we're getting in. So now we're coming around full circle to Bryan Kohberger. It just happened to segue right into that topic of conversation. Many of you know that Bryan Kohberger, he has been accused of killing Maddie Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez. We learned of his name on December 30th while we were outside of the Idaho 4 house. Since then, this case has had a lot of twists and turns to it. Bryan Kohberger was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania at his parents' house. And from what I hear is that event was pretty big. It's something that the community hadn't seen. It's so much so that they had a helicopter hovering over the Kohberger home. So it was very loud, very scary for a lot of the people in the community. And then he was brought back to Moscow, Idaho, and got here I can't remember when it was, but I remember it was January 4th. I just don't remember the time. I'm pretty sure it was like in the morning for whatever reason. I want to say like 9 o'clock, but I can't be confident. My brain is foggy. It's been so long ago, but I remember watching it live as he was landing. He wanted to get back to exonerate himself. That's what his attorney from Pennsylvania, he was eager to get back to exonerate himself. But when he gets here, he's done nothing but run afoul. You know, he's fighting. He didn't want to say whether he was guilty or innocent. He stood in silent. Then the defense the state requested his alibi. He refused to proffer one. They did a motion to compel the alibi. He refused to offer one. And finally, the response was basically, he's not going to respond. He's going to use the witnesses, blah, blah, blah. And that was at the time that they conceded that he was, in fact, in his car. That was a huge concession for the defense because his car was seen on CCTV footage in multiple places on multiple different dates, you know, obviously in that area. Watching the house or the girls, one or multiple of the girls, we're not sure how he targeted that house, but it does appear he targeted the house or targeted the individuals in the house, which was one of the original statements we learned from Moscow Police Department. We learned that he was a PhD student, but it was really, really alarming when people started looking into his past and they found like a coworker of his that said he was really into this serial killer, Danny Rolling. And when you look into Danny Rolling, he's the inspiration behind the Scream films. And it's like, okay. And then we learned that he went to Catherine Ramsland's class and studied under her, which is connected to BTK. And it's like all of these weird phenomenons, you know, surrounded him, which at the time these things were happening, they were innocent and meaningless. They don't mean a whole lot. But when you look at him, when you look back on him and look on his path, where he came from and where he went, it's kind of almost like this weird, twisted, sadistic roadmap to becoming a serial killer. And I honestly believe, you know, everything that I know about, you know, and I don't know, I'm not an expert. I'm not a PhD or have any kind of diplomas or degrees in psychology. You know, it's just, human behavior that I've studied, and of course some psychology classes that I was required to take as part of my college degree and college courses. So it's just a knack that I've got for being out in the street, studying people, just doing a host of different things that aren't school related, real experience. And I just have this knack of understanding a little bit about human behavior. And one of the things is I look back on his life and I see this clear change in his life. And it happened right in the area of like sophomore year of high school. This is kind of where, I don't know how many people are familiar with mental illness. I'm not really I don't understand. I look into it because I like to be knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than not knowing, but I don't know the effects of it on an individual. Only they themselves would know, because it's my understanding that these things affect people differently. So a person that may have anxiety in one person may be very, very extreme, while anxiety in another person is only situational, where it just rears its ugly head under certain situations. So that even the diagnoses affect people differently than not. But there was a clear behavioral change that happened in Bryan Kohberger, and I want to say it was like sophomore year to junior, or junior to sophomore. I can't remember specifically, but this is right when we start learning that he had the drug problems. Remember, we even heard that he went through a diversion program for stealing his sister's phone and pawning it and what have you. So there was this thing where he dives into drugs really heavy and really bad. And a lot of people that go to that anesthetizing situation are usually come from a very dysfunctional family, or have very dysfunctional family, have been abused either physically or otherwise. Typically at that age start having this, there's just some things that go on in that family that make that child kind of gravitate toward that. Not all the time. Sometimes it's just that they gravitated toward the wrong people. The wrong people started messing around with it. Next thing you know, they want to be cool. Boom, bada boom, bada bing. You got your kid, hooked on a substance. It could be just that simple as well. But for Bryan and everything that we know about Bryan Kohberger, I truly don't believe that's the case. I truly believe he knew something was going on with him. And this would have been about the time. And it's my understanding that mental illness, not that mental illness cannot come from the mother. It absolutely can. But from my understanding, when it comes to men, they predominantly get, and maybe it might be women too, I can't remember the statistics, but I do remember the results of it. And I just don't remember the details of it. But they said that the mental illness predominantly comes from the father's side of the family. I don't know how true that is. It's something I read a while ago, a significant while ago, for it to be this foggy in my head. So over a year ago. And I truly believe this drug addiction was trying to settle whatever was going on in him mentally. He probably didn't know what was going on with him. He probably was realizing he had these different proclivities and different, I want to say it's not really obsession, but, need. Like he started having probably some unnatural and unsavory needs. At this point, he's probably knows that you shouldn't hurt anybody, but he feels compelled, that he has this compulsion in him, almost like an addiction that might be taking him down some particular road or particular thought process. And I think he didn't like that, and he was trying to quiet it down. That might have been the whole purpose of the drugs. The drugs were helping him quiet that down, because think about the drugs he was on. He didn't, from my understanding, really didn't have any type of substance abuse problem, and then boom, he's on H. And it's usually people gravitate to that. So I didn't see that gravity. And we know H kind of numbs you out and makes you, drool coming out of your mouth. And that would be what somebody that has a brain that won't shut up kind of needs sometimes. Just the brain to shut the F up. And so I keep wondering if that drug problem was really to quiet his brain, because it seems like almost after this event with this H, he almost is in overdrive. He cleans up his act. He wants to get in and start learning about legal stuff, wants to get in and start learning about this criminology, wants to learn the details of how to be a perfect criminal. And it didn't look like that way on the outside at the time. But now that he's charged with a quadruple homicide and you're looking back, you're seeing this clear path that brought you to this point that seems seemingly innocent at the time it was being done. I said when we learned about Bryan Kohberger and where he came from, I didn't see it right away. It was after I did some, background investigation into the colleges that had this PhD program, or a criminology PhD program. And there's many of them at many universities across this country. There's no notable, majorly notable criminology class at Washington State University. Not that their classes or their program is bad. That's not what I'm saying here. I just find it awfully suspect that he would go from, say, a Catherine Rumsland type of class and schooling, somebody that was well known, and not be looking for that same type of programming closer to home. He went to literally the furthest college away from his home, almost in the country. And when I realized that his background, and realized that there were better programs, and what I mean is programs are typically rated. They're rated by the students' grades. There's a whole host of information that goes into these courses when they get ratings and stuff like that to help students decide which classes or which programs they would like to get into and at what schools, which one has the better program, right? Washington State University wasn't hitting all those top bells and whistles. There were better programs for less money closer to his home. So I always was a little perplexed as to why he chose Washington State University, which brought me to my theory that he decided after Rumsland's class that this is what he was going to do. And I truly believe he hatched out a plan in Pennsylvania to do this. All he needed to do was select his victims. And how would he select his victims, right? How would he know how to select his victims? Well, just so happens he sent out a questionnaire to a lot of violent criminals to ask them just that. Let's not forget the questionnaire. So now he's made this decision. He knows who he is. He's got this hunger inside of him. He needs to let the beast out of him. And he needs to do it as under the radar as possible. So the first thing he needs to do is remove him from a community that knows him well or would see him, to a community where he can blend in and nobody knows who he is, where he came from, what he's doing. Before he left, it is my opinion, now I don't have anything concrete, he was a Scream fan. When did he order the knife? Did he have that knife when he went to Washington State University to move into his apartment? Did he leave Pennsylvania heading to Washington State University to carry out this crime? I believe he did. I believe when we get there, and I could be wrong, we might find out he made it to Washington State University and then hatched the plan and then ordered the knife, and it was sent to his apartment there in Washington State University. But I think as clever and as thoughtful as Bryan Kohberger is, I feel like this whole plan was hatched out before he even got there. I think what he was going to do, I think all he needed to do was find his target and carry out the act. I think the planning, how he was going to dispose of the weapon, the clothing, the shoes, how he was going to get in and out, those things I think he had already predetermined before he ever went out there. And maybe the reason why he selected this house is because the house had hit all the bells and whistles of what he imagined in his own mind. To multiple story house, something like Scream with the Scream knife. Just some things to think about. Let's see here. Ah, I see our beautiful PJ. Betty! PJ! When I'm in there, it's so funny because she only has 2 letters, right? So it's like PJ. It's like I always want to put JAY at the end just so I can make it look longer. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. I heard. Did you guys review that? I saw that Dolly went live, and I couldn't stay on there too long. I was so tired. I was exhausted. I was definitely exhausted yesterday. I worked and worked and worked. I think I don't even know when I stopped. I stopped probably about a half an hour before I went live. And then once I went live, I ended up brushing my teeth and going straight to bed after the live. And then I wake up at 2:00 this morning. I'm exhausted. Jules, I'm a huge horror film fan, but would never harm. And yeah, I know. We got creepy wanders up in here. I know one of my friends. She's a very religious person and loves the creepy stuff. There's nothing wrong with it, you know. If I get creepy stuff in my house, I just bless it. Take the creep out. I used to have gargoyles and skulls and all this other stuff, like incense burners. They used to have molds. These were when they first came out. I spent a freaking fortune on this. It's the ones that have the cones in it. So when you light the cones, all the smoke comes out of like their nose and their ears and stuff like that. It was really cool. My house smelled like a frick. I'm surprised I didn't die from something to do with my lungs, because just I put those scented things in and they'd all be different scents, because you can't really just buy, you go through them anyways. So they all have different scents and they're all going. My house smelled weird. My house smelled weird. We had to open the windows. Like, you know, this is patchouli and this is cherry and strawberry. They don't go together. Like the things we do. Let's see, what does it say? It says, I'm 100% positive he did, but if he did, I find it hard to believe he did it alone. Too many coincidences indicated other possibilities. Good thinking. You know, that's been a topic of conversation for some time, you know, because it was a knife, and how do you control, you know, 4 people? I think there is a path forward with it being just a single person. He's such a loner. I don't know if he would trust anybody to help him with something like this. But it does look like it's possible, without a doubt. Just because I think that, you know, he's a loner, and everything I found out shows he wouldn't be around anybody. he'll be avoiding him like the plague. You know, I'm being facetious, but you know, I do think that there is a possibility. There's definitely a possibility. Somebody sitting out in the car, you know, somebody making sure that he changes out of everything and wipes everything down and makes sure he doesn't touch anything or have any transfer. It's possible for that. Could it be possible that a second person came into the home? I think it's harder to believe that a second person was inside the home to help carry out the act because of Dylan Mortenson's account of the events that transpired, that she witnessed. I think that kind of eliminates, if there was a second person, that the second person was inside the home. But again, that's just the way my brain puts together the puzzle pieces. Your brain may say, well, you know, maybe they walked out first, you know, maybe she opened the door a little later. You know, there is those possibilities. We don't know, we weren't there. So you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. But for me, I think with Dylan, I think that kind of eliminates the second person being inside the home, but definitely doesn't eliminate the second person being a getaway driver or the lookout. But what makes me feel like he was alone is because, again, not law enforcement, the defense had to concede that he was in the car, and he was in the car alone. Some may on the other side, right? When we look at both sides of this, I don't know one way or the other. You know, I was not with Bryan, so I don't know if he was alone or with somebody. But some people on the other side may say, well, they're not going to say that there was a second person in the car because that's a witness against Bryan Kohberger. So they're going to want to let everybody, and including another charge for that person that, you know, assisted him. We're seeing what's going on with Preciado and Romanos. The parents, they're being charged. They're not being charged with the actual physical murder, but they're still in jail. They didn't get bonded out. So it could be something like that, hey, you know what? They're going to say he was in the car by himself because they don't want the witness coming forward. They don't want anybody knowing there is a witness. Could be that. I kind of feel that's not the case because they need a plan B, and there would be nothing better than to have a second person that was at the crime scene. But it's the defense that's saying, well, we were out. We were in the area. We were driving alone, but we didn't do it. Kind of like what we're hearing from Stacy. I was there. We saw a boy. We stopped. But we didn't do it, right? Even though the person we were with washed clothes, changed clothes, and acted a little weird and whatever. I don't know. What other thing about that? So we're still in the house. The second person, I will tell you that it, for me, even though I didn't bring it on this channel at all, I did look into, as well as Olivia, we did look into the second person theory that somebody was with Bryan Kohberger. I don't want to go through, our information just yet, which kind of dovetails into the Cyber Sleuths on Paramount Plus coming out. I hope you guys all get an opportunity to watch this docu-series. So I think it's like 3 episodes of this. It brings in a bunch of stuff. It was really, we really talked about how we truly felt, about the case, about all the speculation, about other people. Was it causing damage to the case? How we felt things were progressing and things of that nature. It really was a good, in my opinion, good rounded. Now, again, we're at the mercy of the producers and the directors of this. They have the ability to make us look really, really bad, and they have an ability to make us look really, really good, right? I'm just joking. But the producer, I think she's the producer. I think she's the producer, like an executive producer, is Lucy. And Lucy is amazing. I don't know if you ever watched that series called Our Father. It's about the doctor that, had hundreds because he was an fertility doctor, and he fathered hundreds and hundreds of kids in their own community. I don't know if you guys remember hearing that story. It's crazy. And one of the biggest fear is that they didn't know that this guy, because usually what he told them is that he only uses the same specimen, the same person for 3 inseminations. So there's no possibility of there being a whole bunch of children from one specific donor out there, because this is a small community. So when you're fathering hundreds of kids, there's a possibility of a person not even realizing that they are related. Kind of twisted and sick, if you ask me. And so this is, Jules says, I've watched it. Well, the producer of that, Lucy, she's the one that did this docuseries. Very nice chick from California. I really did. I liked her. I liked the whole team. They were really really nice. A couple of the producers really knew about sleuthing and the true crime genre. And it's kind of neat because I feel like we taught Lucy what it was all about. It's kind of cute. I think she now knows a lot more about true crime and the true crime genre and the web sleuthing and the work that goes in behind the scenes to bring all this crap. When a officer makes an arrest and those they don't give you a whole lot of information. These documents that you're seeing with evidence, information in about their past, criminal behavior, families, and, familial documents, and really charting their life and stuff like that. That's coming from web sleuths. That's coming from people that are putting together timelines, putting together massive amounts of information in a short amount of time. This stuff takes hours and hours to accumulate and put together. Some things are very easy. For example, there was one guy that was a kid was missing. He was ended up being found within 24 hours. But I tell you what, I literally had, and this is just from the stuff that they put out there themselves, just online. I was able to get both of the parents' names, their date of birth, their social security numbers, by the way, and their locations and cell phone numbers. And it literally clocked 5 minutes. It clocked me 5 minutes to obtain that information. I literally had these people's full names, date of birth, and social security numbers. And the wife half's full driver's license number. And this wasn't doing any sneaky, reverse engineering, nothing. This is from the stuff they themselves published online, making it available in public posts for everybody to review. Guys, be careful with what you post. It's not that you can use and post whatever you want. Lock your public stuff down. Having stuff, when you're like, literally, I was able to locate, and this was private, and this was documents that I would never have been able to obtain through FOIA, even redacted, because this was a post where one party put their court documents to punish the other party online. And in these court documents that this one person posted on behalf, to say, look at this crap, this person, blah, 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 right? Puts the whole thing there. And in that is every piece of personal information for not only that man, but the person, his significant other that he's having a custody dispute with. So be careful what you guys are putting online. What does it say? Back to what I said on Dolly's night. People are too gullible these days. Yeah, they are. And that you know what? Actually, going on to Michael Monkey Vaughn, then we're going to dovetail back over here to Bryan Kohberger. I just want to read one more thing. That's one of the things that got me with Stacy and Sarah. They do appear in no disrespect. I think it's well documented at this point publicly that I can make this statement without offending somebody. But it seems to me that they are, both of them, have some kind of cognitive or, learning type of problem with them. There's some kind of, mental illness or cognitive issue with one or both of them. And that is ripe. And, they're older, so they're adults. But that is ripe for manipulation, especially from people that don't have these issues. Like, say, a seasoned criminal such as Adrian Lucen, right? He could definitely get a hold of them and manipulate them into doing things and making them look cool and knowing how to rouse them. Oh my God, you're so great. I can't believe you did this. That is amazing. Just propping them up and making them feel good about what they're doing is a good motivator to manipulate people. So, and I don't want to take away, because at the end of the day, Sarah and Stacy are both adults. And there's a lot of people out there that have the same kind of issues that both of them have that don't do this type of thing if they truly are responsible. But we do have to look at that avenue, because we look at Brandon, and we've seen Brandon, and Brandon, he seems like he's a little smarter, but there's still something there that just isn't right with me on his behavioral part. Well, I don't know if that's a personality issue or if it's a mental issue, but or a disability. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but when he was talking, he seemed like he was more put together than what we see, but it still seems like there's something there with him, and I can't put my finger on it. So it makes me feel like, is Adrian like the the head. And is it, was Sarah and Stacy the head? They were the ones that owned the companies. They were the ones that sent these people out. They're the ones that brought people home with them. They seem like the directors in all of this. But we have to look at the other people, and were they able to manipulate them? Or is this really a show that's being put on? Because when I saw Stacy on Dolly Visions and Brooks, I got to watch some of Brooks too. But when I got on Dolly Visions channel, he seemed very ultra relaxed, ultra calm. Nothing really pressured him. He was answering all of Dolly's questions. Dolly's really chill. He always makes you feel really comfortable on his channel. He just keeps a nice, calm thing. He always, if he feels like something might be a little offensive or maybe direct, he tones it down. He says, because I know, people are, so he has a way of dealing with it. It really does open people up to him because he's so soothing. And I think that that's what it was, is he was soothing to Stacy. And so Stacy opened up very relaxed, chill environment. But last night on Justice for All's, not so much. He seemed a little extra agitated. He seemed a little more aggressive and powerful in his tone, not the relaxed, lazy kind of just chilling and answering all your questions because I got nothing to hide. Here's the real issues. It really seemed like people were honing in on very specific details that weren't specified in a few of the other interviews. And it almost frustrated. It appeared, in my opinion. I don't know if it did or not. Maybe he was just short for time because he had to eat and what have you. But in my opinion, it seemed like he was riled by the questions, not by the time. And that's my problem that I have with Stacy. Do I want to attack him and say, you did this, tell us the truth, we want the truth, you can't handle the truth, he says. I'm just joking. But he seemed a little more forceful on Justin's panel. I don't know why. It just was odd behavior from the behavior that we had seen previously. And I have to believe it's because that they were starting to tighten, and I hate to use this, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's going to get me in trouble. But tighten the noose, right? Social media is tightening the noose. We are going to be going down this. We're very strategic. We don't plan with one another. We just are good at what we do, that we can follow what everybody else is doing. We're trying to get to the goal line here. And the goal line is finding out what happened that day and who's lying, right? What happened and who's lying? Because based upon, I don't expect Stacy to know what happened when Adrian, Sarah, and Brandon were gone. He wasn't with them. I truly believe that absolutely is 100% positive. I do not believe Stacy was with Adrian, Sarah, and Brandon when they went to Nampa. Now, I don't know one way or another whether he actually had that taxi cab fare at 1:30. That's what he said. I believe Brandon said that was the reason why Stacy didn't go with him to Nampa, is because he had a fare to take. So I kind of believe that is mostly true. The stuff that's foggy for me is not the morning stuff. It's from the time everybody comes back to the home before they go pick up the car. It's at that point everything starts getting hairy. Because we were told that Adrian left that morning and never came back that afternoon. We don't know if that's supported or not. That's what Brandon says. That's what Stacy says. That he never made it back. If he was this notorious person that was in this, HT situation, and he's been known to do this kinds of stuff, then why would Stacy think that he could have potentially be more responsible than anybody else in the household when, according to him and Brandon, he wasn't even in the area? As a matter of fact, almost 45 minutes away in Nampa, where his wife, Sarah, and her side piece, Brandon, dropped him off, according to their records. Now, also according to the records, or not the records, the statements made by Stacy, is that he arrived home, he thinks, around 4:30. Now, I have to think that they have said this statement over and over and over and over again because they've had to tell it to law enforcement. And I'm a true believer that the truth is the truth, no matter how many times you say it, and the truth doesn't change. But people do happen to misspeak or get times off or things like that. We all do it. I've done it. I understand it. It does happen, especially when you're live and you're kind of thinking on your feet. It comes back to that June-December thing that we talked about at the beginning of the show, about how I was talking about a case, and I remember saying June 30th when Bryan Kohberger was arrested. But when I was talking, I swear to you, I heard December 30th. I still said December 30th throughout the show, but it was that one instance that I did not realize I said June. I thought I said December. So it is possible that while you're here, you literally misspeak, and it's telling you in your brain that you just said it right. And had somebody said June, he wasn't arrested in June, I would have said, oh, I meant December. But I don't even know if anybody caught it or if they just knew it was a misspeak, because right after that I said, yeah, and in December, they were also we also had the Coeur d'Alene celebration of life. So I do know that literally one spot, June 30th instead of December 30th. And I tell you what, had I not re-listened to my live, I would have never known I did that. So was last night on Justice for All a misspeak of Stacy? Now we need to find out, what is the true time? What is the timeline? Because the timeline on a very specific event has changed. And it's right at the heart of the timeline, where the timeline matters. When Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared originally, get my handy notes out so I don't make a mistake. For our exact police. So, what was said on Dolly Vision's channel? I'm just going to kind of recap it. He has Stacy on there. Hi Stacy, how are you? He starts out with the morning, says who was at the home, what time did you get up, and who was at the home. It's a little foggy there because he says that 4 people were at the home: him, Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon. However, they left first. They left in the morning. And I remember him saying they left. He later said something like to the tune of, they left before I got up. And I thought, wait a minute. He just said, but I may have misunderstood that down the road and thought that that's what he was trying to say. I haven't rewatched Dolly Vision's interview with him yet. Rewatched it. So he says that they're there, but they get up early in the morning, and that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian leave and take Adrian to Nampa to see his kid. He says from that point forward, Adrian never comes back to the house again. Stacy says that he had a fare, and that his fare, he needed to leave the house by 1 p.m. Dolly brought up the splash pad event at 1:30 or 1:15 or something around that time frame. It says 1:30 in here, but I heard on Justice it might have been closer to 1:15. That he was seen on CCTV footage at the splash pad with his vehicle. Sarah and Brandon end up coming back home according to this is everything I'm going to say right now is according to Stacy's interview with Dolly Vision, not any other interview. Dolly Vision and Dolly Vision only. According to the statements he made on Dolly Vision, he said he arrived back home between 4 or 4:30, somewhere around that time frame. And Sarah and Brandon were already back. we've seen the photo of Adrian with his son earlier that day. It's not the first time we've seen it. We've seen it way, way, way back when, a couple years ago, when we were really heavily involved in investigating this case, and it had a specific time stamp on it, and that time stamp was 4/47. Well, I almost forgot about that video, and Susie Sue sent me over Michelle After Dark, or maybe it might have been Michelle Walks. I don't remember what channel of Michelle's it was on, but it was on one of Michelle's channels, and she brings this photo back up, and I'm like, there's a problem. That was and this is all happening yesterday. So there were several problems that were being presented before me, even though I really wasn't working on true crime. I was working on paperwork here. I did do some true crime, and I was watching some things. That's how I heard Justice for All and what have you. So how can Brandon and Sarah be back at the house when Stacy arrives between 4 and 4:30 if they're out there taking a picture of Adrian with his son at 4:47? That statement does not hold water. He could not possibly have gotten home, or he could have gotten home at 4:30, but there's no possibility that when he got home at 4:30 that Sarah and Brandon could have possibly been there. I don't know how, unless they are telepathic and can do a Star Wars move and just beam me up, Scotty. So I don't understand that. So I've got a lot of clarification issues on that. Now I'm being very kind, and you guys are noticing I'm not very overly aggressive with this, and it's because of two things. There's a few reasons. I don't know whether these people are responsible or not. I cannot find the linkage. This is all becoming linkage to me because this is showing direct places these people were at that could show they had a hand in it. So I kind of see the timeline as being the reason that they're good suspects in this particular case. But with that being said, we've also had charges brought against Sarah that were dropped. Again, that means that they did not have the evidence to support the claims. Otherwise, they would have went forward with those charges, and they couldn't. So that also cautions me. And then you've got the demeanor of Stacy, but more importantly, it's the time that's lapsed. So I'm trying to I want to make sure that these aren't just mistakes that he's making. I want to make sure that this is not just something that he's got off because it's been, almost 3 years, and he's just foggy on the time frames, just kind of like me. Remember I told you, I'm a little foggy. I reviewed it, it was over a year ago. So I want to make sure that that's important because I don't want to attack this man until we know for a fact. And right now I don't know for a fact. I want to dig in here a little bit and find out, is there a justifiable answers for it before I make, really evaluate my opinion and evaluate my perspective on this matter, now that we're getting some people talking about the days surrounding Michael Vaughn's disappearance and the people that are presumed suspects in this matter. So I'm glad that we're getting there, but I want to make sure that this is not a timing issue, that, he truly is fitting in this block before we say so, because again, almost 3 years ago, could this really be an innocent, just forgot timelines? It's possible. It is possible, in my opinion. So I'm putting that possibility up to the forefront as we're wanting clarifying information. So the first bit of clarifying information right out the gate in this case is, how can Brandon and Sarah be home when they're taking a picture by 4:30, when they're seen, 48 minutes away, 50 minutes away in Nampa, taking a picture of Adrian with his child? I would just like clarification on that statement, because that right there is no way they were home at 4:47. That means when he arrived home, they were not there, yet he's telling everybody they were, or he didn't arrive home at 4:30. There's that possibility too. So that's the first clarifying question that we have. So then they go through this, and he says the reason why he didn't go to Nampa with the three is because he had a fare, one fare that day. The fare was $150 fare. It was good money. They needed the money. He loves odd jobs. He loves doing this. And he had to go. So they went on to deal with Adrian. He stayed at home to take this fare. He needed to leave the house around 1 o'clock. But he was seen on CCTV footage around, I'm going to say a range because I really don't know the specific time. So I'm going to say the range between 1:15 and 1:30. It could be between 1 and 1:15. It could be, I don't know where in that time frame that was, but between 1 and 1:30, he was seen at the splash pad. Insignificant. This is hours and hours and hours before Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared. But again, could this have been a scoping or a casing of something? We don't know. I don't believe so, especially if he did go pick up that fare and that fare can verify that they were hired that day. Brandon wanted to go get his car. So according to Dolly's interview with Stacy said that they left the house right around 5:30. And at 5:30, they went out of the community, and he almost implies that it took them 10 minutes to get out of that community, which is a little hard for me to believe. But putting them right outside of their community on Arizona and 8th, which is one street over from where it is believed that Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared from, they all three, Sarah, Stacy, and Brandon, according to Stacy, are parked there to put power steering fluid in the vehicle. I don't know why they didn't do this at their house, why they drove out of the community and on the busiest road in that community before they pull over and change out their power steering fluid. But that's what they said they did. But this stop shows that they, according to Stacy, would put them outside of where Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared an hour before he disappeared, not right in that window of disappearing. But this is my problem I'm having, is last night on Justice for All, his timeline went forward. So he's saying they didn't leave the house until much later than he originally said on Dolly Vision's channel. And they're also saying that they didn't get back until much later than what they said on Dolly's channel. But when you look at the timeline with law enforcement that we know, especially the time that they called the search and told people to stop helping that night, there's no way that from the time they got home to that calling that Sarah and Brandon could have gone an hour and a half. That's too long. They cut that search. What was it, around 11, maybe 11:30 or something? Hey Penny, good morning, love. That morning. So again, it just, the timeline is Swiss cheese, and now it is melted Swiss cheese because it's ever flowing. It's changing and twisting and turning and stretching and getting longer and longer. So I now we're hearing that there are later, but this is the problem I have with this updated time change from Stacy, from Dolly Visions to Justice for All. It puts him closer to the time when Michael was abducted. It put him closer, as opposed to it being an hour from the time that they were seen outside, when they stopped to do according to Stacy, an hour, to literally being 20 minutes. They were outside of that, according to this new timeline that he said on Justice for All. They were outside of that spot, Arizona and 8th, at 6:20. Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared at 6:47, between 6:47 and 7 o'clock. So now their window is being pushed forward. So they didn't leave their house until later. And I'm starting to see that their timeline cannot possibly make sense the way it's being spun. Even going to Brandon's house, they said that they went there and came right back. If they left at 5:40 and say got out of the community at 5:42 or 5:45, he lives 45 minutes away So it brings him to 6:30 being at the house. Takes him 10 minutes to do it, 15 minutes. So now we're at, what would that be? I get so sidetracked on times. What did I say? 5:40, 45 minutes. So we're at 5:15, and then you add another 15 minutes. So 5:30, and then you gotta, or not 5:30, 6:30, and then you've got to come back home, and you're taking a longer way, and they probably have to drive a little bit slower. But they may not, as long as there is a straight shot and there's no stop signs, they can just kind of keep going. As long as that car is in motion, it doesn't really matter. It's only when it stops that you got to start pumping the brakes. So we'll give them about an hour and a few minutes to get back. So you're still getting back right about 7:30, 8:30, 9 o'clock, the latest. And that's at the 5:40. That's at the 5:40 time mark. They're getting back at 9:30, which is what he said. And they said 9:30, but it really doesn't bode with 9:30 at all. It bodes more with 8:30 when they would have gotten back. If the timeline was as exact as what Stacy said. They left at this time. They drove this way. It's XYZ time to get there from this way. They had to drive the back way. We have to take into consideration that they're towing a vehicle. They're probably driving a little bit slower. And they had a 10-minute delay when the strap broke. So we have to put all those into the equation when timing this, but it doesn't put them at 9:30 from 5:40. And so it's definitely not going to put them coming in at 10 o'clock if they move the timeline to 6:20. And by him moving that timeline to 6:20 when they left, he's actually putting himself closer to the time that Michael Monkey Vaughn actually was abducted. I don't know how many other bad dudes are in that neighborhood that have HT associated with them. There was only one person at the time, and that person was staying with the Wanderers, according to Stacy. Stacy and his wife brought this threat into this community. And now, the same exact day that Michael disappears, just so happens only one person of the quad tree, I want to say duo, right? But there was 4 people that had been staying there, living together, hanging out, running business together, and then boom, this specific day, July 27th, the worst of the worst that were in that group of 4 happens to just leave the area on the same day a young boy disappears. How far is Kuna from Nampa? And imagine this. Guess how far Kuna is from Nampa? 19 minutes. Is it possible all 4 of them were together before they left that community? Now that we know the timeline's getting really stinking close to a little boy's abduction. Because with a 19-minute drive, they could have dropped him off with the little boy. But I don't think that's the case. I'm starting to think Adrian was with them. Because why would anybody think Adrian could possibly do this? Why would Stacy pinpoint his finger at Adrian? Why would Brandon? If they absolutely 100% knew that Adrian was not even in the area at the time. How can Stacy say that Sarah and Brandon couldn't pass their lie detector test, but he could if he had been with them ever since they dropped Adrian off? To me, none of this makes sense. Do I think, as we sit right now, that Stacey Wandra had something to do with this crime? There's not a lot of information, corroborated things that I would call either direct evidence or circumstantial evidence that directly links him to the abduction of Michael Monkey Vaughn. I do not see it. But I can tell you there is evidence of weird behavior from them specifically in and around the time that Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared. Did they have anything to do with it? I truly don't know. Because even the circumstantial evidence that is before the public, okay, now I say that because we know law enforcement has a wealth of knowledge that we do not possess, a wealth of facts that we do not possess. So I can only go, based on what we see, feel, and touch. It doesn't make it true or accurate. But so far, I haven't seen that direct connect either circumstantially or directly. And that's where my problem lies in this. And the fact that law enforcement has had a bite at the apple and has dropped those charges without prejudice. So they can bring those charges again, once they build a stronger case. But that's my problem. They don't have a strong case. So while these people are suspects, I still can't see the linkage, but it's getting closer. It's getting closer. Do I believe that that something happened with these people? I'm going to say I trust JD Huff. And I trust his investigative abilities. And I may not know a lot about this case and may not have a lot of facts in my corner to support, whether they may have been responsible for this or not. And I'm talking about the 4 suspects, persons of interest. But I can tell you that there's a reason why that man is looking at these people. That I truly believe. And while we may not know what that evidence is, it's got to be enough to bring these 4 people, which none of us even knew about. We had no clue who these people were prior to the arrest of Sarah Wandra. We didn't even know Stacey was in jail yet. That didn't even come out until after we disclosed that it was Sarah in jail for the crime of failing to report a death. So where did they come from? What's the link? We're listening. And I hope Stacey, if you're watching and you did not do this at all, I'm going over here, then I hope that you can explain some of these detail issues or clarifications, or, maybe some, I'm sure that if you didn't do this, there's a reasonable explanation. And I just want to find the reasonable explanation so we can just move past it, right? And move on to bigger fish. We have bigger fish to fry. We need to find out who is responsible for this case. But there is a lot of red flags and a lot of odd behavior surrounding these 4 people that day. And it's very upsetting because this is, for folks, I don't think normal people like me or you are, even if we're Uber or Lyft driver, are going to take our fares home with us, okay? I don't know how many people in this society are willing to risk that. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be injured in my home. I don't want my house being robbed. I don't want anything being stolen from me. I'm not going to bring some stranger in my home that I picked up on a fare that's down on their luck. I mean, that's just, to me, seems like a recipe for disaster. To all those people struggling, God bless you. I'm not saying that people shouldn't give you a hand up. I'm just saying there's just some types of hands up that are a little too personal for me. It'd be different. Let me just couch this a little better. It'd be different for me if it was a person down on their luck from a church or something like that, where the preacher knows this person and there's somebody to give this person, you don't have to worry about them robbing you blind speech or, stabbing you in your sleep or something of that nature. I mean, those are the things that I'm concerned with bringing strangers home, to my home. These are guys. I don't know what married man does not put 2 and 2 together that, hey, my wife is going out, picking up these fares and bringing them home. Oh, he's down on his luck. Okay. And how is that your problem today? Well, we need to help. Okay. Well, pray for him. God moves mountains, right? Pray for him. Take him to a shelter. Maybe buy him a hotel if you really want to be gracious and helpful. I don't get the whole, I'm going to bring some stranger to my house that I don't know. In this today's society, you cannot do that. The hitchhiking days are over, folks. Too many people lost their lives. Oh, that's right. Are we talking about somebody that's missing? Oh my gosh, imagine that. And it's kind of, frustrating, especially if he heard that Adrian was this notorious H-tier from California. You brought a monster into a sleeping community, a bedroom community. You brought a monster in your own community because he was down on his luck. It's a little disheartening from my perspective. Brandy is without her son because your wife couldn't keep her legs closed, if you really want me to put it down to the nuts and bolts of it. We've got a missing little boy because of your wife's pursuit to have a baby and bringing weird people into a good, wholesome community. And it was done with permission. He says that he didn't give her permission with Adrian. Well, we definitely know she was doing everybody in that house. That's just strange and some change for me. I know people live alternative lifestyles, to each their own, but it sounds like nobody knew that they were living in this alternative lifestyle except Sarah. I'm just saying. It seemed like she kept her circle happy and large. Quite a few of them. I don't know. Because I'm such a prude. Sweetie pie, I'm such a prude. I hate talking about this stuff. My face turns as red as my sweatshirt. I don't like it. But it's part of life. I know it's natural and healthy and stuff like that. But I don't understand. There's just like mental illness. I don't understand how a husband, can listen to it from the other room. I'm sorry. There's just something that just screams, especially when they're talking about God and religion and her going outside of her marriage, just to me does not bode you're walking this path with God. It seems to me you're walking this path with a facade. Something is going on. Something is going on. And they say when they come back at 9:30, according to this timeline, again, this timeline has now changed as of last night. I think, again, it could be a misspeak. Last night, he spoke with more authority. He spoke with more power in his voice. He was not relaxed last night. And he changed this timeline. So let's find out why, guys. I was offered, I'm not going to take too much of his time, but I'll go up there for as long as he'll have me. But Justin said that I could come up and ask some questions. So hopefully I'll get up there and can ask a few of these questions. And again, I'm coming from a place of love and understanding. I'd like to understand because, again, I can't find linkage to this family other than the actual arrest. They never really got brought up in any type of people. I spoke to a lot of people in their community. Nobody says, oh, it's these crazy people that bring weird strangers home. They're the Wandras. Got none of that. Nobody knew who these Wandras were. I mean, they probably knew them, but there's no way they equated these people with that missing child. And I still am outside of this CCTV footage, and I think that's what done them in. There's CCTV footage all over that community. Down the road from their house, I know there's some there. So I'm pretty confident that they've got some of that footage. They know exactly when those people left their house. They probably got at least, maybe some shadows in some of those, in some of that footage that can show at least maybe the number of people in the car. to decide whether there was 4 or 3. There's just something really weird with the story with Adrian, and how Adrian just left that morning and was just on his way someplace else, has just never rang true to me. Why was he staying with the Wanderers to begin with? And why did he leave that specific day? There's a lot of questions, a lot of clarification questions. If you guys have an opportunity to be in a chat, it sounds like Stacy is making his rounds to clear his name, tell his story, and to ask the public to help clear his name. So again, we're finding some oddities in his statements. Let's find out why the oddities exist. And then once we realize why the oddities exist, we will then speculate and see what those mean. But let's caution ourselves. I know it's hard because our brains are running a mile a minute, and this isn't looking good for any of them. I get that. But there may be a reasonable explanation. Let's just see if we can get some of these questions answered and see how they're answered and what explanations, especially with the timeline, the timeline's starting to change. Let's find out why it's changing. If he says, well, look, I went back and I realized that, once I went back and reviewed some information, that there's no way we could have left at 5:30. And I realized I must have been off an hour. And so that's why I changed it. That is a reasonable explanation. It shows that he made a statement. He went back and reviewed the timeline, and he made the changes accordingly to make sure that they were accurate. Again, reasonable explanation. Something that looks really ultra suspicious right here, right now, might be totally innocently explained. So I just want to make sure that we give the opportunity to innocently explain these phenomenons. And then once we get those explanations, then we make our determination on what we feel happened. I'm very thankful that Stacy's coming out and clearing his name. Please continue answering questions. We really want to know what happened to Michael Monkey Vaughn, and the sooner we can get through this process, the sooner we can figure out what happened. If you had anything to do with it, or you now know your wife and her friends did, please come forward. Even if it's not firsthand knowledge and you heard through the grapevine, give law enforcement what they need. It'll help you in the long run. It'll get the right people behind bars that did this atrocious thing to Michael Monkey Vaughn. But I have to think that at this point, with these statements and the behaviors that even Stacy himself described Sarah having after Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared, seems a little of odd behavior. And so if he had nothing to do with it, or even is a Preciado type of situation where he's just helping clean up a really ugly mess, he needs to come forward, get some type of good graces with law enforcement, so you can get that, you can help put an end to this, and you can help save yourself in the process. So I hope he's looking at all avenues, especially now, again, he's saying he has no knowledge. We don't know what the truth is. I'm just speaking to him from person to person saying, hey, I don't know. I didn't live that. I didn't go through this. I don't know what information he knows, what information he doesn't know, who was there, who wasn't there, when times happened, when times didn't. I don't know. But the way the story is right now is it's not making sense to a reasonable person. And so we need to find out why it's not making sense to a reasonable person. If there is a good explanation, let's put that into the equation. If there's no good explanation, we need to put that into the equation as well. All right, guys, we're at the end of our show. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being here with me. It was nice. It was nice. I love Office too. It's so hard. It's like the coffee addiction. Once you get used to it, it's hard to go back. Like I can sit here. Like I work all day now. I'm a freaking machine when I'm here with my computer. I'm relaxed. I can get stuff done. When I'm in that office, my eyes gloss over. I realized that. I came to Jesus, had to come to Jesus conversation with me. I'm like, what is hindering me? And what is hindering me is I hate being in that office all day. So now, and I'm like, you got a portable computer. Well, I don't want to unplug the equipment, right? That's the excuse I've been giving myself, right? So I got my little birdies, my devil and my angel, right on the shoulder, duking it out, saying, Betty, you don't have like a desktop. I mean, it is a laptop. It's unpluggable and movable. Fairly easy. Can we say lazy and procrastinator, please? And please do not put an equal sign with Bullhorn Betty's face there. I will be offended, but it's probably rightfully earned. It's probably rightfully earned at this point. So now that I realize that my laptop's portable and can move from room to room with me, it is amazing the level of work that I am now producing and pushing out. It is amazing. It's amazing. And you know what? I still hate going and plugging everything. I love pushing buttons, but I hate plugging and unplugging things. Go figure that out. Make that make sense, okay? Now that's personality issues. Don't bother me. I know. We're coming to an end. I know. You guys need your fix too. All right, guys, I got to get back to work. I didn't really have a very specific topic, you know. Oh, before we go, don't leave. Hold on. Oh, where's my, don't leave. That sounded like the alert. I forgot to play the video. I got a Bryan Kohberger video that we were going to discuss for the first 5 minutes. I don't want to leave without the Bryan Kohberger videos. Okay, he's on the list. He's on the list. We can't go yet. All right. So getting back, we started talking about the Bryan Kohberger thing. This is just a stupid thing. I did want you guys to see the inside of the apartment. Don't ask me why I want you to see the inside of the apartment. It just gives you a layout of his apartment. So this is the Steptoe 2-bedroom flat. And why is it not playing? There it is. So it's just little photos. There's like his kitchen looking. We don't know if it looks just like this, but I have to think in this design, it might be the same layout as his, where one side, the kitchen's on one side or the other. I remember learning that. Oops, sorry about that. I remember learning about that from, oh, you guys didn't even see it. Sorry. Let me go back to that. Yeah, hold on. It's just the inside of his apartment. I wanted you guys to see the inside of his apartment. I don't know if this is the exact layout for his particular unit, because I think the kitchen was the opposite. I think it's on the back, like flipped around in his apartment because of the way his is positioned. But that's pretty much in his, even out the window there has like a playground. There's a lady that lives under him that has 2 small children. So that's kind of what it looks like inside there. I mean, it's actually a pretty decent apartment if you ask me, but that's not really what we're here for. I wanted to take and talk about the first 5 minutes of this video here, and now it's going to kick us over into overtime into our show, but that's okay. It's important, and I want you guys to hear it. Let me back it up. First 5 minutes.
Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder.
That is top-notch defense attorney work. So I think that she's doing a great job. It's just going to be a very tough case, an uphill battle.
Bryan Kohberger's defense attorneys are at it again, but this time they're switching up their tactics. Now they want previously sealed documents involving the accused murderer to be made public.
In a case like this, there's going to be something in that is filed that is going to surprise us.
And I believe that's going to be the case. I truly believe this is why she wants this stuff to be public. She's wanting to present, because remember, they went the grand jury route, which is what in a situation like this, no fuss, no muss, go present your case. Your bar is low. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, or not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's trial, but it's not even a preponderance of evidence. It's probable cause. Probable cause is one of the lowest standards. It just basically means that you could have done it, that there is some scintilla of linkage to you. It's a very baseline. Just that's why most people are indicted, because the bar's so low. The actual trial is the one that has the largest bar of all in criminal process, is beyond a reasonable doubt. In civil cases is by the preponderance of evidence, which is a lower grade than by reasonable doubt. So that is just a little bit of different legal standards. And in this particular one, she's wanting now to bring all of these, this whole thing related to the motion for new trial to the public. She wants this stuff unsealed, and she wants her arguments heard not only by the court, but also by the public. They've been working round the clock, very, very tirelessly, to keep the public out, to keep everything in this case locked down. And so this is going to be a huge deal on looking under the hood to see what's going on, not just on the prosecution side, but also on the defense side. What are they saying? What are they saying is wrong with all of this? We haven't heard from them yet. This is going to be interesting.
By now, you know the story of the 4 University of Idaho students who were found brutally stabbed to death in their off-campus home. It was November 13th, 2022, when the bodies of Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez were found. The story became a media sensation, especially when the case went weeks without an arrest.
And we see this coming. Eventually, we're going to narrow in on exactly what happened and who did it.
That's just what happened in late December of 2022 when investigators arrested Kohberger at his family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
Kohberger was extradited back to Idaho in early 2023 and has been held at the Latah County Jail ever since, a mere mile and a half from the grisly crime scene. Law and Crime has followed the twists and turns of the case from the start, bringing you dozens of updates along the way. But still, a trial date isn't set for Bryan Kohberger, and because of a gag order, much of the case still remains a mystery. But that's something Kohberger's defense team is hoping will soon change.
It's a motion to unseal the motion and any proceedings and arguments that are generated as a result of the motion. So if they're going to be having a hearing on,
they want this to be absolutely 100% in the public, everything related to the motion to reconsider the indictment
on it. They want the anybody that's a member of the public to be present in the courtroom and see what's happening, basically.
We sat down with public defender,
which really, really, really just burns my grits, because we've been begging, and we even sat there and said, there's going to be a point when they're going to want us there. And, I don't like feeling, used. You've been kicking us out this whole time. And it's like, oh, now you want the sympathy. I think now you've done the damage. People have got, they've made their mind up already. He's either guilty or not guilty in their mind. And I can tell you that from where we started at the beginning, December 30th, 2022, I can tell you that from then till now, he's lost a lot of support. The people that originally thought he was not guilty because he may have lent his car to somebody, a lot of those people changed their tune once they conceded that he was in the car, and he was in the car alone. Just a little food for thought.
Natalie Whittingham-Burrell to understand the defense's most recent motion and make sense of where the case stands right now.
So I think there might be some things that end up surprising us. And you should never assume, you should never assume in any criminal case. There can always be something there that will turn the mind of the jury or make it so that certain evidence is not admissible.
So that is where we're at right now in this matter. And it makes me wonder, because a lot of us remember, or at least heard the rumor, and I believe it was a journalist that said it when they arrested him. Or maybe it was a journalist that interviewed somebody that was there when they arrested. I can't remember the details. But they said that his first words out of there, it could be rumor and not factual. I just want to put that nuance on there, that disclaimer, rather. That he asked if anybody else had been arrested. It was just a weird, odd statement. And we heard that at the beginning of this when he was originally arrested, that it literally went like wildfire through social media. That he first question asked was whether anybody else had been arrested. I've heard contradicting statements as that as well. They say that no, he did not say that. So I don't know whether he did or not, but it kind of makes you wonder whether he did. And are they going to be using a plan B? Because they have to. Who's going to be plan B? Is it going to be Dylan? Is it going to be some anonymous third party? Is it going to be somebody else that they know, like a boyfriend? Who are they going to plan B in this trial? I'm still waiting for it, because they've got to point the finger at something or someone else. I don't know. Could they even come up with like no, they couldn't, because the knife it never recovered. I was going to say, could they come up with a defense of like a weird, crazy, like murder-suicide plot or something like that? But I don't think they can. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, that's my comments on that. We'll expand a little bit more throughout the week. We're going to be starting to kind of focus on to the Murdaugh case. We've got a lot of court documents, hundreds of court documents, hundreds of pages are related to the court documents. I think it's like 3 or 4 different pleadings, maybe 5, that I've still got to read and understand what's going on in this motion. What are they really asking for? We've got a good understanding. They're basically saying that the clerk did horrible things while she was clerking this trial, and as a result of it, caused Alec to be found guilty when he should have been found not guilty. It's basically she swayed the jury, not the information, is basically what they're saying, that she violated her oath of office in doing so. So we don't know if that's true, but I can tell you, based on the 2 affidavits I have, their affidavits specifically state that these things were said in front of all jurors, and we still have not seen anybody come forward to proffer an affidavit stating either corroborating this information or opposing it. We haven't seen either or. We do know and have heard that there is affidavits with the SLED agents, and we also heard that Eric Bland may have had an affidavit signed by maybe a client or 2 of his, something to that effect. And I think the court said they didn't need them or something. I'm not sure, but the judge is going to be asking the jury body, the deliberating jury body, not all 18 people that were selected, only the people that deliberated, the 12 jurors that found Alec Murdaugh guilty of the double homicide related to his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, will be heard and will be questioned by the judge. She specifically said she's doing the questioning. So we'll see. But if she's keeping it with the deliberating jury and Becky Hill, I think Becky Hill's going to be a winner chicken dinner in the ending of this. I think the loser will be Alec Murdaugh, and then it'll be on to the next appeal, right? The next challenge of the indictment, or not the indictment, the verdict. So that's where we're at. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Leilani's coming up. Some hearings are coming up this year. In just a few weeks, I think. We've got Savannah Soto, the Preciados and Romanos. They're going to be coming up in February for hearing and pre-trials and arraignments and all the crap that goes along with that. So we're going to be very busy the beginning part of this year. So if you guys would like to support this channel, the best way to support this channel is just watching, sharing, and subscribing. That's literally the best way you can help build this channel and bring new audience members to look at the content here. If you want to do a little bit more, the next thing is on a monthly membership basis, you can become a monthly member. If you just like, you don't want that kind of commitment, right? A lot of us don't like commitment, okay? I don't like car payments. Why? Because it's a freaking commitment, right? I don't want a 5-year commitment. So if you don't want a commitment, and you're like, Betty, I just want to throw you something. There's PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo, or you can do super chats and super stickers and support publicly this channel. So God bless each and every one of you. Take care. I hope you guys learned something, but if you didn't, it's okay, because today we were just chilling and chatting and chilling. Whatever the wind, however the wind blew us today, that's where we went. God bless you guys. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe And more importantly, please be kind to one another. We don't know what kind of day somebody's having. You can brighten their day or you can destroy it. What kind of person do you want to be today? God bless you. We say no to online bullying and online harassment. Take care.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.